Greetings, guys. Today, I'm going to review not a horror movie, but a comedy. In fact, one of my favorite Christmas comedies. The movie I'm going to review today is none other than Bill Murray's Scrooged. And I know some of you might be wondering, why in the hell is he wearing a Deadpool mask? Isn't he a Deathstroke guy? Well, yeah, that's kind of the point. This is a comedy movie, so I'm going to review it as the Merc with the Mouth Deadpool. And for anybody that doesn't like it, fuck off. So, let's begin the review. Bill Murray's Scrooged, I believe, came out in 1988. And honestly, the stuff they do with the Christmas Story, where they show it for 24 hours every year, I really wish they would do it with this movie. Let me tell you why this movie is so good. Number one, it's got Bill Murray. Enough said. Number two, it's funny. Number three, let's just put 1 and 2 together, and that pretty much sums up number 3. So anyway, Bill Murray is actually very funny in this movie. He's like the comedic version of Ebenezer Scrooge, I guess you could say. He owns this like company where they make commercials and movies and all that, and he's pretty much a dick to all his staff. In fact, he's pretty much a dick throughout the entire movie. He dates this chick named Claire, and it kind of goes back to when he first started seeing her, and you get to see like why he left her and all that, and it came down to a stupid dog show or something like that. So yeah, Bill Murray is quite a dick in this movie. Reviewing this entire movie, I'll probably give away too many spoilers, so I'll try to keep this review as simple and as short as I can. So we reach a point in the movie where Frank, who is Bill Murray by the way, gets a visit from his old boss, Lou Hayward, and he comes into the office, dead as shit, and he's got golf clubs and rats popping out his head and all that. He comes in and he drinks up Frank's liquor and has a little talk with him about how he needs to change, and tells him like, "Oh, Frank, you're in trouble. You better change your ways or you're going to die soon." So Frank is totally taking all this as a joke, and it gets to the point where the guy picks him up by his neck and dumps him out the window, and we get to a scene where Frank is just sitting in a chair. So I don't necessarily think it was a dream. Well, maybe it was, but it's setting up for the rest of the movie, to where he gets a visit by the Ghost of Christmas Past is the first one I think that visits him. And this guy is just, he's really not the funniest out of the three. When he's taking Frank to his old home and showing him everything in the past, he snatches a bottle of liquor from Bobcat, the guy with that really crazy-ass voice, might I add, who works for Frank but gets fired for absolutely no fucking reason. And he pretty much just shows Frank everything in his past. Like, he takes him to the house he grew up at. Frank is a kid when he gets there. His dad is a total candy ass. He shows up home and says, "Hey, son, I got a Christmas present for you." And seriously, he gives the kid 5 pounds of fucking meat. What kind of a Christmas present is that? So, little kid Frank is like, "But Daddy, I want a choo-choo train." And the dad takes his hat off and says, "Then go out, get a job, and buy a choo-choo." All I ever hear is little kids making excuses why they can't work. "My legs ache. My back hurts. I'm only 4. So yeah, the comedy is definitely there. And might I add, the dad who plays Frank's dad in that part, that's actually Bill Murray's real-life brother. So anyway, we finally get to where the Ghost of Christmas Past is done with him. You know, he's at the dog show where he leaves Claire, and he basically just can't figure Frank out, so he's basically like, to hell with Frank. It shows him popping up in his cab and driving off, and we cut to a scene where Frank is now back at his job, shooting a commercial, and there's a chick there shooting a commercial with some guy playing, I want to say he's playing Ebenezer Scrooge. And she says something about, "Farewell, Ebenezer. May you be happy with the path that you've chosen." And suddenly Frank turns around and says, "Well, I am happy with the path that I've chosen, you little bitch." And honestly, I about fell out, died out of laughter. So yeah, the comedy in this movie is fucking fantastic. So Frank continues to be a grump, and he finds his old girlfriend Claire, which it looks like everything's about to go really well. He tells her he wants to take her out for Chinese food, which I might also add he claims to not like earlier in this movie. So he must really like Claire if he's willing to eat shit that he doesn't really like. But anyway, it gets to a point where Claire's got to go make some phone calls for her job or something, and Frank doesn't like it, and he basically just says, don't bother, being a total jackass and blowing her off. So then he gets a visit from the ghost of Christmas Present, who shows him everything that's actually going on. Now, might I add you, nobody can see Frank or the ghost, so every place that he's at, they can't see him. So he goes to his brother's house. They're having a party, having trivia games. He goes to one of his co-workers' house too. She's got a son that won't talk because I guess his dad was killed so long ago, and he ain't said a word since. So Frank goes and he visits them, and turns out that the little kid, the lady's son, is actually very smart, but like I said, he just won't talk, and goes to his brother's house. Ends up seeing what he got for Christmas, and then he watches his brother open his Christmas present, and he gets some shit that Frank didn't give him, a VCR. Frank claims to have given him a damn towel. Apparently, the co-worker Grace, who has the son that won't talk, switched the gift and gave the brother the VCR. Now, personally, if I was going to give my brother a damn towel for Christmas, I just wouldn't give him shit, because that doesn't make any sense. But I guess that's part of Bill Murray being a jackass in this movie. So yeah, and might I add that the ghost of Christmas Present, she beats the holy hell out of Frank all through these scenes. She knocks his ass out at least 5 or 6 times, and then when she meets him, she kicks him right in the dick. So, like I said, comedy, it's there. Last but not least, Ghost of Christmas Future. Basically, he's just a monster that shows Frank everything that's going to happen if he doesn't change. His co-worker, the son, ends up in an insane asylum or something. Claire turns out to be a total bitch. Shows her blowing off kids and not feeding them, and then it shows Frank. It doesn't show Frank, but it shows his casket being cremated. And then you see Frank, the real Frank, clinging onto the casket, and looks like he's being burnt to shit. Then suddenly he wakes up and he's full of joy. He realizes that he's got to change. And right there it starts with the Bobcat guy, the co-worker that he fired, shows up with a gun, and Frank grabs the gun, basically is just full of joy, turns nice, gives him his job back. And then he kind of holds it, not really holds him hostage, but he brings him with him, tells him to bring the gun. Because there's another guy now controlling the office and the commercials and all that Frank doesn't like. And honestly, this other guy is a dick, so I really don't blame him for bringing Bobcat with the gun. And he has him kind of tie the guy up, and Frank is now running the show. Basically saying everything that goes on, and he actually turns it in to something positive and basically talks about the importance of Christmas. He apologizes to his brother, to everybody he's ever hurt, and then right there on camera, after he kisses some really sexy chick, might I add, but she kind of forced it on him, kind of pulls him by the tie and smooches him. After the kiss, he says, the kiss was good, but it wasn't great. The only great kiss I ever had was from Claire. He says this right on the air. Claire sees it. She rushes down to the studio. And it gets to a point where when Frank is finally done talking, the co-worker, the lady, Grace, the son that never talks, he shows up, taps Frank on the shoulder. Frank says, did I forget something, big man? The little kid says, God bless us, everyone. Frank picks him up, gets teary-eyed. The mom comes over, grabs him from Frank, kind of cries a little bit, tears of joy. They all start singing the song, Put a Little Love in Your Heart. Claire finally shows up at the studio. You know the drill. Frank kisses her. The movie ends on a happy note. So yeah, I may not have went into complete detail about the movie, but that's because I want you to see it for yourself. Bill Murray's Scrooged. If it happens to come on during Christmas, actually, you know what? I'm going to recommend you go out and rent this movie because it's a lot funnier with the swear words. It doesn't have nudity or violence or anything, but it does have some brief language. But you know what? That's needed because it's Bill fucking Murray and he's fucking classic. So yes, I would give Bill Murray Scrooged probably a 4 out of 5 stars. I know this movie got both good and bad reviews from the critics, but, well, fuck the critics, because mine is the only one that counts.